Hello and welcome. I'm Guy Bennett and you're here at the College of Kinesiology, and I'm going to talk today about endogenic DMT release. So at the moment it's very popular for people to experiment with psychedelics. Some of the psychedelics that people have been exploring particularly in the last decade or so in Australia, has been DMT, and the DMT comes in different forms. It can be smoked, or it can be drank in the form of ayahuasca vine, and it can also be in an animal form or plant form. So animal form, NEO5-DMT. And so there's a lot of people going on different journeys through taking this product, which I think might have some validity. However, ultimately, we want to create our own internal DMT experience. So we want to be able to endogenically release DMT within our own being, rather than need it externally. So this world isn't doing so well, and one of the reasons why it's not doing so well is because of externalization. So instead of owning processes internally, we tend to go outside of ourselves and take things or do things in a way to induce experiences, rather than do them through inner focus and inner reflection. So DMT as a neurotransmitter hormone is released at death in humans and other animals, I'm sure. So, and when people take DMT, they talk about having tunnel experiences, out-of-worldly experiences, interdimensional experiences, which fit well with the process that we understand as death. So death doesn't always need to be physical death. Death can be the death of the ego, the death of different identities and belief structures we've created in our life. We used to create our own identity. And when we live in externalized reality, death can be quite daunting, because when we live in externalized reality, we aren't cultivating our internal being quality. And when we fail to cultivate our internal being quality, different mental structures that we've attached to, belief systems and identities about who we think we are, when they get challenged, we don't cope well, because we aren't able to let those structures die and then be reborn in a new form, because we don't have that inner reference point to spirit, or that inner reference point to the being quality. We tend to very much today get caught up in the thinking quality. And so when the mental structures that we've been attached to stop working for us, they start to create problems in our lives, then what can happen is we shift into the resistance process to death. So instead of surrendering, letting the mental structures fall away, break down, recycle, and be born anew from the vibration of spirit, we resist that process because we've identified exclusively with the thinking process and haven't cultivated that being quality, which allows us to transition the void, move through the place of death, and then be reborn without actually physically dying, just emotionally and mentally dying. So essentially what we're talking about here is the dark night of the soul. And many of our mental health problems and many of our other problems, similar problems to that, exist because we're unable to actually transition through that dark night of the soul, because we're trapped in the mind and haven't actually cultivated that inner being quality. So today we're going to be showcasing a kinesiology procedure that can potentially activate a DMT cascade. And in order to do this, we're actually going to be starting with the chakras. So the chakra that's most involved with our understanding of our own identity is our solar plexus chakra. So the solar plexus chakra represents like our personal identity, our personal will, and that's the intersection of the solar plexus chakra at the physical etheric level. When we follow the solar plexus out through the astral and into the causal level, at the causal level, the solar plexus chakra represents our spiritual will or spiritual nature. And these two platforms of the solar plexus chakra, the physical platform of the solar plexus chakra and the causal level of the solar plexus chakra, are often in tension. And we're often, battling with what we desire spiritually with what we desire personally at the ego level. And the spiritual process and the personal process need to find some sort of harmony for us to have a sense of peace in our lives. Also, for us to grow and evolve, these two levels of our chakras need to be coming into relationship with each other. The next chakra that's pivotal in this endogenic DMT release is the throat chakra. So at the causal level of the throat chakra, we're at the void state. So that journey between the personal will and the spiritual will, that journey as the spiritual will connects in with the personal will, is a transition into the void state. So the void state lies between them. And so when we resist the void, it can set up a long-term tension pattern between the ego identity and the spiritual identity. So by activating the tension between these three chakra positions, we create the environment for a transpersonal death process, not a physical death process, but an ego death process. And it's in those journeys from one state of being of the ego identity into the spiritual state of being that actually triggers that DMT release. So that's what happens during the death process, but it can also happen when we lay down parts of our ego that aren't serving us anymore. So once those are in place, then what we do is we activate the pineal gland and the DMT hormone, the thalamus, and the DMT receptors on the thalamus. And so between the pineal gland releasing the DMT and the thalamus receiving the DMT, that sort of is the pivotal axis for the activation of the DMT cascade. And in order to assist that process, we're going to be using two fluorescences. So one of the fluorescents is a bark flower called walnut. And that bark flower called walnut is often referred to as a link breaker. So it helps break attachment. So if we have any attachments in our life we're using to anchor ourselves down to keep us in that ego identity, the walnut, the link breaker, will help to release that. And another one from the desert flowers called cliff rose that relates to the actual death process. So that is the dying of the ego and the rebirth of ourselves anew from spirit. And also in this process, I'll also be checking the 13th chakra, which is about endings and beginnings. So sometimes also referred to as paradigm shift. So this whole process of death and rebirth is essentially a paradigm shift. So Bethany's going to come over shortly, and I'm going to deliver this balance and the structure that I just described to Bethany. And it's possible while we're doing the balance, different things will be called in, which is the nature of kinesiology. So it brings in different things at different times. And also it will probably, follow key things that are customized for that particular individual. In most cases, when I deliver this balance, people have an endogenic DMT release and experience visions and various such things. So Bethany's never had this balance before, so we're going to see also how it affects her. So we'll be asking a few questions at the end to see how it's affected her. Bethany, would you like to come over here and lie face up on the table? And we'll just start the kinesiology process. So like with all kinesiology balances, we're going to start with pre-checks. So I'm just going to touch you for kinesiology purposes. Excellent. So I'm going to put your arm in position, apply some pressure here, and I'll just get you to hold, I'll spinal down, and then hold, spinal up, and hold. So we have a locking right indicator muscle, and then hold, spinal down, hold, spinal up, hold. We'll check the brachioradialis, hold, 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 hold. Excellent. We'll check switching, left, right, front, back, top, bottom, then hydration, deep hydration, central meridian. So the central meridian is not coming down. So I just put that in circuit, chakra. Okay, so chi harmonics. So see what body is involved. Etheric body, GB20, so holding small intestine 3 and GB20 to release the tension in the etheric body associated with the central meridian not modulating. Excellent. So we'll just run that down, run it up again, so that's working nicely. We'll check the governing, switching off, switching back on. And then can I get a block my nostril and breathe in and breathe out? Excellent. Breathe in and then breathe out. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to start by investigating your solar plexus chakra. So I'm going to put your chakra mode on and then my hand over your solar plexus chakra. And then I'm going to check the different bodies involved in the solar plexus chakra. So in the clear, there's nothing showing. So remember, initially we were talking about the dynamic between the personal will and the spiritual will. So in order to activate the dynamic of the personal will, we need to put the physical body and etheric body on, because that's where the personal will aspect lives. So, chi harmonics, physical, hold, chi harmonics, etheric, hold. Excellent. So to check the yin and yang aspect, I can it's fine. So now we'll have a look at it at the spiritual level. So this is relating to the spiritual will, spiritual identity. So I'll put chakra mode on again. And now we're going to look at it at a more refined, subtle area in the causal body. And then we'll put chi harmonics on. And upper mental body, chi harmonics, higher self, chi harmonics, spiritual, and then hold. And there's no stress showing there. We'll check the yin and yang aspects, light touch, deep touch, and then lung, light touch, deep touch, light touch, deep touch. Okay. And now we can do GV20. So GV20 connects things together. So if I touch GV20 now and I monitor, then we're getting stress. So that's the stress. And it's third stage stress. So that's the stress between your personal identity or ego identity and your spiritual identity. So independently, they're not stressed, but when we connect them and try and bring them together in an integrated form, your body's actually going into third stage stress. So what can we do to do that? So once a fluorescence, so I can check cliff rose or walnut, cliff rose. So cliff rose is showing, so it's just gone in a hypertonic. Cliff rose, priority. Okay. So I'm just going to put that on. You might feel that. Feel the energy of that one? Yeah. Is it quite strong? Yeah. So I'll read you what it's about. So cliff rose helps you to unite your will, intention, and the power to act for those who say they want to do something but never quite manage to do so. And now we need to explore a higher chakra, so 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th chakra. And we'll see which body it's interacting with. So it's interacting with the spiritual body, or the spiritual bodies. So the 13th chakra of the spiritual body. So we're looking at endings or beginnings. So it's about a new beginning for you and spiritual connection. That's what it represents for you. We're clearing stress out of your emotional body now. Excellent. Okay, so now I'm just going to check your throat chakra. And so the throat chakra is very much about the void state. So at the level of the causal body. So we'll put throat chakra on. So that's actually indicating. And then we'll check upper mental, higher self, spiritual. So higher self showing. Excellent. And then I'll just get you to put your feet together apart. And so we're working at the throat chakra with the higher self. Now we're going to check if it's to do with the yin or yang aspect. So deep touch under energy yang, which is about truth, under energy truth. So the under energy truth is about crossing the void. So the issue is about taking on other people's truth. And my truth aligns to my core values. Can you just say that? My truth aligns to my core values.
My truth aligns to my core values.
Excellent. Back to the 13th chakra again. Go to the etheric level now. So we're just following the body, so that's back to the 13th chakra, which is a very important chakra for this process of endogenic DMT release. So let's have a look at the etheric body in relation to the 13th chakra. So it's about endings or beginnings, physical death. So cellular karma. So it's karma held in your cells. So it's more ancestral influences. So I'm doing cell mode. Is it systemic? So it's all the cells in the body. And we'll just check if it's generational, so coming from your father's side. So it's coming directly from your father. So I'll just get you to say a resolve and release.
A resolve and release.
All cellular karma.
All cellular karma.
From my father.
From my father.
So anything that's been energetically imprinted into your cells that you've carried on from your dad is being released now. Okay. So anything at a cellular level that might be blocking that endogenic DMT process is being lifted on. All right, so now we're going to activate the pineal gland. So we're going to do diencephalon and triple heater 23. And then we're going to go DMT, which is hormone, just 20. And then we're going to activate the thalamus. And then the reticular nucleus. And then we're going to put DMT receptor. And then GB20. And then releasing stress out of the sacral chakra. And then we'll just check walnut. Just the link breaker. Search this. Try it again. Just have a look at what that's to do. So it's kind of with beginnings and responding to the I am. Bethany, I'll just get you to say now my personal will,
my personal will
and spiritual will find peace and harmony with each other.
find peace and harmony with each other.
And then I'll get you to say I want to,
I want to,
I don't want to,
I don't want to,
I think I can,
I think I can,
I think I
I
can't,
think I can't,
I feel I can,
I feel I can,
I feel I
I
can't,
feel I can't,
I believe I can,
I believe I can,
I believe I
I
can't,
believe I can't,
I know I can,
I know I can,
I know I
I
can't,
know I can't,
it's safe for me,
it's safe for me,
it's not safe for
it's
me,
not safe for me,
I accept the consequences,
I accept the consequences,
I don't accept the
I don't
consequences,
accept the consequences,
I'm worthy,
I'm worthy,
I'm not worthy,
I'm not worthy,
I take responsibility,
I take responsibility,
I don't take
I don't
responsibility,
take responsibility,
and then I'll just get you to say I allow endings and beginnings
I allow endings and beginnings
for my highest potential.
for my highest potential.
I want to,
I want to,
I don't want to,
I don't want to,
I think I
I
can,
think I can,
I think I
I
can't,
think I can't,
I feel I can,
I feel I can,
I feel I
I
can't,
feel I can't,
I believe I can,
I believe I can,
I believe I
I
can't,
believe I can't,
I know I can,
I know I can,
I know I
I
can't,
know I can't,
it's safe,
it's safe,
it's not
it's
safe,
not safe,
I accept the consequences,
I accept the consequences,
I don't accept the
I don't
consequences,
accept the consequences,
I'm worthy,
I'm worthy,
I'm not worthy,
I'm not worthy,
I take responsibility,
I take responsibility,
I don't take
I don't
responsibility,
take responsibility,
excellent. Okay, more information, correction, emotion, energy, chakra, white body, meridian, figure eights, both and something else. So, emotion, energy, hold, chakra, white body, meridian, figure eights, homeopathic. So I can feel now that it is broken through. Thought forms and structures in her ego state are now breaking down. She's referenced more now the spiritual dimension and less physical dimension. The physical dimension is restructuring in alignment with the spiritual dimension, which means that some of the old structures are not serving her anymore from the perspective of spirit of breaking death, which is letting that happen. There might be quite strong feelings in the body with that. Which is more of a witness state. So how's that been?
That felt pretty cool. Yeah.
So what did you experience during the kinesiology part before we did the relaxation?
Well, I received a lot of kinesiology, so the beginning felt pretty normal, like the normal sorts of sensations and shifts I feel in my body were happening. It was just peaceful and safe, and then it felt a bit different.
At what point did it start feeling different? Do you remember?
It wasn't immediately when I shut my eyes, and it wasn't when we immediately got to zero. It took a while, like there was a little bit of a battle to just relax into it. Yeah.
And then what type of things did you start to experience?
So gradually, probably when I started to close my eyes, I started feeling like I was on water, and the table would tilt around a little bit and then just stay and relocate. So it felt like I was in water for a lot of it. And then the more I relaxed, the bigger I felt. Like if I flinched, I might pop my head on the roof because I was so big. Yeah. I was taking up like so much space, and I just felt like the room wasn't big enough for me.
Wow.
Yeah. And lots of movement and rotation. So I stopped feeling like I was lying on something, and I was like tumbling, and there was like a pivotal moment where I went from lying down to standing up. And I kind of felt the table still attached, but then I was moving around.
Were you moving around the room?
within a space where it was. Yeah.
Did you notice any colors or visuals?
Yeah. So there was like a landscape. There was a cliff. There was a lot of different spaces that I was moving around in.
And did you meet any other beings?
No, it was just me.
Did you hear anything?
Yeah, lots of birds, and lots of birds, and an ancestor.
And an ancestor?
Yeah.
What type of ancestor?
My great aunt.
She was an Aboriginal? Or
Yeah.
part Aboriginal?
Yes.
Was she talking to you or singing or?
No, she just said, like, just let it happen, you're safe, and then that was it. And she said, I'm not hanging around.
Oh, cool. And how do you feel now after it?
Really relaxed.
And is there anything else you'd like to share?
It kind of felt like if I let myself meditate for a long time at home and I stay meditating, it kind of felt very similar to that.
So you get some of these experiences naturally when you meditate?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you.